Excuse me.
Welcome back to American Warrior Radio right here on AM 1300 WMEL, the Talk to Me station. And that's what we offer you folks, is you can talk to us. You can call us 631-1300 if you have a question. Glenn, we're going to talk about a couple things here in a moment, but I just wanted to quickly get a shout out to all of our wonderful supporters for the AVET Project Fashion Show last Sunday. It was a big success. A lot of kids had an opportunity to go and do something they may never get a chance to do before, and that's walk the runway. We had the support of Old Navy, the Gap, Causeway, Cache, all these local retailers with these wonderful clothes, and our executive director, Kim, Crest Cleaners, got a big shout out to Crest Cleaners because they went and took some gently used clothes and cleaned them for our kids to wear, so that we were only going to have 30 kids. We ended up with over 80.
Yeah, and I understand you had people from various places throughout the state, so that's cool.
Yep. Key West, Miami, Sarasota, Tampa. It was a great thing. And obviously it involved a lot more girls than it did guys, but we had some boys and even some older guys. Had one active duty guy show up. But the interesting thing is, this is Women's History Month. And,
yeah.
Well, Women's History Month is one thing, but we are saluting women in uniform. And that's kind of what we wanted to talk about here in just a moment, because while it's Women's History Month, the VA is focusing more and more on women vets, because it's about awareness, you know?
Exactly. And, you know, good little history here. You know, when I started over 20 years ago, the VA was in a situation where it was a male-dominated
for sure.
health provider. I'm just talking on the healthcare side of the house. And if you went into a VA hospital back in those days, they didn't have separate bathrooms. They didn't have any kind of facilities to separate men and women. They just weren't set up like a civilian hospital, I guess, as a comparison. And over the years, they've improved all of those things. And you need to know, if you're a woman veteran out there especially, that every VA healthcare facility has a women veterans coordinator and a women veterans program that takes care of specific medical needs specific to the female anatomy. And you should contact, your first thing you do after you enroll in the clinic is contact the women veterans coordinator, because they're gonna give you the in-depth information you need to know about what the VA can and can't do for you in terms of health care. And it's a tremendously better system now, and it's improving. Every year there's some kind of laws that come out focused on improving not only care in the healthcare side of the house, but benefits on the claims side of the house for women veterans, because, you know, men and women are different. I mean, we have different bodies, different medical needs, and the VA is recognizing that through promoting legislation in Congress to help out on the claim side and the healthcare side of the house.
All brought about because of awareness. All brought about because people pushed forward with their agenda to get equal treatment, and I am all the way behind them. But think about that for just a moment, about increasing awareness. That's one of our AVET Project's key missions, is to increase awareness about the needs of past and present military members and their families. As we're getting ready to play a piece of music I want you to listen to. This is a piece of music that a former Army soldier, Purple Heart recipient, wrote about a man who's currently walking around this country promoting awareness, not only about men and veterans, but women issues also. It's called The Walk, and it's by Sabo. And Vince is going to play that for you. If you're the third caller while this song's playing, we've got a Big Papa's Dinner gift certificate. So be the third caller to American Warrior Radio. But let's give this a listen, and we'll be back in a moment. 631-1300 is the number. can roll it down. No. We are always going to bring you some music from these current modern day warriors. That was Sabo from NSA Entertainment. You can find him online. Check him out on Facebook. You can listen to this song again once John O'Hara from WMEL gets this posted up on the archives. Just click on the last episode of American Warrior Radio and you can listen to that and share it with your friends. He operates under the Redcon 1 label, but Glenn, that's what we talked about before we led into this, is awareness. And really, that's how they've made the advancements they have in women's health care through the VA.
Yes, and vitally important. For more than a decade, I know that the makeup of our military forces was about 94% men and 6% women. And that's already grown in the last decade 2% more. But that's a lot when you consider the number of people in uniform protecting our way of life. And it's up to 8% overall. And the average age
so 8% of our active force is women.
That's, and it's growing exponentially, I would like to say. And there's where's the University of Virginia Law School that's got a suit going on to try and open up even more direct combat jobs for women veterans?
Well, you know what, my view on that, and I'm not really editorializing, I think this is probably shared by most people, is as a man you don't really want to see your woman be facing the barrel of a gun. But at the same time, Glenn, through the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs, of course I'm a member out there and I get their newsletter, it clearly shows this article that women are basically doing these roles anyway. They're out there on the front lines, and who was it? Major General Buchanan said, man, you're over here, there are no front lines, you got a bullseye, so why not?
Exactly. And you know, we're looking at a picture here in the Veterans News from the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs showing a woman veteran next to a Humvee with a big...
looks like a 45 cal.
Well, it looks like a 45, but I think they use 9 mils. So
9 millimeter, yeah.
And, you know, it is true, like Guerin says, that the women are actually performing these tests. It's like the old story in the Army. Everybody's got an MOS about a different thing. You know, this person might be a cook, this person might be a personnel specialist, and so forth and so on. But they're all infantrymen when it gets down to it.
Yep, that's their primary MOS, is go out there and pound the ground.
Well, when it gets down to it, if you're in harm's way over there,
grab a rifle.
In Afghanistan, you're going to be an infantry person, whether it be Marine, Air Force, Army, Navy, whatever branch of the military you're in.
Well, and I want to mention for our listeners of American Warrior Radio in the Northwest, whether you're in Washington or Oregon or Northern California, we invite you to go to the Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs Women's Veteran Conference the end of this month, March 30th and 31st, I believe. Joanne Ivins, AVET Project's Director of Counseling, is going to make a presentation at that event, and she's something to behold. She really relates well. Even though she herself is not a veteran, she's been on our board from day one, and she has so much to offer. Right there in Oregon, it's going to be held in Salem, Oregon. So for all you listeners out there in the great Northwest, even as far away as Idaho, this is a real neat opportunity. And again, easy to find out information about it. Go to avetproject.org. Click on the Facebook icon too, because there's always so much going on there. But Glenn, you mentioned in some statistics the active duty force for women is like 8%. Give me some numbers on women veterans of these current conflicts.
Well, women veterans of these current conflicts make up 12% of the Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, which of course has drawn down to a very small contingent now, and Operation New Dawn. So 12% and growing. That's why I said, you know, the 8% make up of the entire force, but there's 12% in the combat zone. And I guarantee you, I know from looking at the statistics and the projections, it's gonna, that rate of the proportion of women veterans to male veterans is going to continue to grow. And you know, I think back to many years ago, The Israelis had women in combat roles in their armed forces.
Wasn't it compulsory? I mean, it was, you were
Yeah,
born to go into the
they were
service.
part of the draft. So
Okay. Well, and I don't know that conscription or draft is ever going to happen for women in this country. I just don't. But who knows? Maybe.
no, but I was trying to point out that women have been in combat roles, and except for our societal stereotypes of women's place in America, there's really no reason. They had the ability to be an excellent combat troop.
And they're out there performing valiantly today. I know many of them have been given awards and citations for acts of valor that they've committed out there.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, so women, the largest group of women veterans today served in these current conflicts. We know that, and you say that some 12% of the women veterans are from these conflicts, but I want to know, for our listeners out there, we know about PTSD, hypertension, and depression. Those are the top 3 categories for treatment for women through the VA care system.
Right.
What about MST? What is that, and how do they go about being treated for
MST
that?
is military sexual trauma, and about 1 in 5 women seen by the VA healthcare system responded yes when they were screened for this. So
1 in 5.
1 in 5. That's not real great.
Boys, what are you thinking?
Yeah, but let's put it into context. As dramatically bad as that is, and it is what it is, 1 in 5. But when you think of military sexual trauma, people immediately think about women. There's also military sexual trauma for men, and that doesn't get any publicity for whatever those reasons may be, and that probably has to do with some more societal stereotypes.
Yeah.
But when you take the numbers, because there's a smaller number of women in the military, and compare it to the men, well, one man with experienced military sexual trauma has a minute effect upon the percentage, whereas one female warrior that has military sexual trauma could raise the percentage, 0.5% or so.
Apples to apples, yeah.
So
Good point.
there's actually slightly fewer men seen in the VA. These are people seen in the VA that have experienced military sexual trauma. So it's not a good thing. And like Garen said, what were you thinking out there? But what were you thinking on both sides of the fence, both male and female? This is just not on.
Yeah, I'm with you there. So that's one big consideration. I guess the general underlying theme here is the Veterans Administration way back, because women have been serving in combat roles. I mean, literally, they've been supporting wars and warriors from the dawn of this country.
Well, yeah, the further you go back on, Vietnam, World War II, nurses were certainly in combat areas.
Oh, for sure.
And that was a bigger contingent of women in the military back then.
Right, and now it's grown to all the administrative and clerical functions, to the security forces gal, like the picture that you're going to see this on YouTube, folks. You can always go to AVET Project's Facebook page and find a link to click on to see this actual program on video, and you'll see a picture of this gal, Sergeant Velez, or it looks like a senior airman, maybe E4 anyway, we know that. The idea is that the VA has grown. They've recognized that they needed to beef up their available options for women's health care, and as you mentioned, on the benefit side of the house, they've made some changes to that also.
Oh, absolutely. There are issues where women who served in Vietnam, there's a whole list of things that their children could get benefits for if the child was conceived after the service or during the service in Vietnam. Breast cancer, we've talked about breast cancer awareness for women veterans. They, within the last couple of years, have redefine the rating schedule for all that. It's much more liberal and definitive on what kinds of ratings you can get and what it takes to get rated for breast cancer. Is more liberal is the key word here. And I want all you women veterans out there, or all you people who know women veterans, to get them informed that the VA has an excellent health care program available for them.
Specific to them.
Specific to their needs. And it's not like it was in the past. And I don't know, for some reason, women veterans seem to believe, some of them do anyway, that the VA doesn't have anything to offer them, and they go on their way, and they do. From whether it be a mental health issue or a physical issue, the VA has care available for you. And you've earned it, and you should seek it out and get it.
Yeah, for sure. And as Glenn was talking about, there's the Caregivers and Veterans Omnibus Health Services Act of 2010, which provides a lot of money and basically to fund pilot programs to provide group readjustment counseling and even retreats for women that have separated from the service and have experienced combat. They don't have to be in a combat MOS to have experienced combat.
That's right.
If you're in a convoy going from spot A to spot B and you've got roadside bombs and ambushes taking place, I don't care what your MOS is, you're in combat.
You're in combat, yeah.
So they've opened the doors on that, and they're really trying to put some, again, hats off to Shinseki. I don't know that this would be happening under any other Secretary of Department of Veterans Affairs.
Well, he's
done a
one
lot.
that more understands the veterans' plight.
Maybe because
many
he
of
was
the
a
others,
4-star
because
general?
Well, he's a 4-star general, and he got there by his combat actions in Vietnam and other experiences, and he's really a man that understands the plight of the veteran. So, and I just throw in real quick, it's interesting to note that one of the things they set up a committee to look into is the feasibility of offering child care to female veterans. And
wow, what
that
an idea.
Of course, is something that sometimes holds them back from getting the health care they need, because maybe some of that health care involves getting regular counseling and so forth. They don't have any way of getting their children taken care of.
Yeah, that's an excellent thought there, and it is under this Omnibus Reauthorization and Opportunity Act to try and provide, or at least assess the feasibility of providing health care so that they can engage in the services that they've earned through the VA. But I want to throw this out there real quick. For those folks, I think it was a couple weeks ago, I know it wasn't last week, but a couple weeks ago, I made a pledge that I would call the Veterans Crisis Line.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago, and what'd you find out?
Well, you were there. I did it this morning, as a matter of fact. I'd done this some time ago, and I may have told you a little story about that, but I called the number. It rather rapidly prompted me, if I was a veteran, to press 1, did so, and within about 11 seconds, a live person picked up, and we had a nice conversation.
Yes.
I just basically said who I was, what I was representing, and wanted to find out about what kind of services they offered. So what was your opinion? You listened to the phone call.
Well, it did quickly refer you to the veteran side of the house.
Which was an improvement from a year ago.
That's an improvement from, you were just at the National Suicide Hotline before. So you've connected with people that are attuned to the veteran, what VA can provide in those instances. And it sounds like they can make the proper referrals and everything. I'm hoping when they said that the crisis intervention is available on the spot if necessary, so that takes a trained person to figure that out to start with that you're talking to on the line.
The gal was pretty sharp.
Pretty sharp woman on the line, and I know the system is, there's immediate follow-up with the VA. Of course, the VA only works Monday to Friday for these types of things. So there's immediate follow-up, so it would get down, I'm sure, to the clinic here for people in our local area for the person calling in and get some intervention if necessary. She did mention that they could get law enforcement or other kind of intervention depending on the
emergency
needs,
services.
Emergency services to help out. So it is a program that it seems to be improving as time goes by. It is a lot better than it was initially. And what was your overall thought on that?
I'm with you 100% on that. So if this is why we ask you to grab a pen and paper. If you're not a veteran, so be it. If you are a veteran, or if you know somebody that is and you think that they may be in crisis, this is at least worth writing down. Let me give you the number: 800-273-8255. That's 800-273-8255. 8255. And once it picks up, just hit the number 1, and it'll get you to that. It's just something that we want to throw out there because it's maybe not a last resort, but man, when somebody's thinking about the tragedy that they're suffering and the fact they can't overcome it, we want to give them every opportunity to save themselves.
Yeah, give it another chance before you commit suicide. There's
Please.
way too many suicides going on out there, and there is help available. And you know that the old saying, that's a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Isn't that the truth? You can call us at American Warrior Radio or AVET Project, 321-373-7046, 373-7046 if you're in crisis. We'll get you help somehow, some way. Want to throw this out there also, the Veterans Men's Group. This is an opportunity offered through East Coast Christian Center. Now, we don't propagate any kind of religiosity or politics or anything, but it's a good group, and it's every second and fourth Tuesday of the month from 6 to 8 p.m. at the East Coast Christian Church. It's just a great idea to check it out, eccc.us. Lot going on today, Glenn. I just want to thank everybody for joining us here today on American Warrior Radio. We'll be back again next week, but as always, Glenn,
don't forget, think of that.